Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So, wanted to leave a link down in the description for you guys to an article talking about the container shipping rates and how these container shipping rates are beginning to drop. And this is one of the signs that we're seeing the tide shift. One of the major issues that I have had as a retailer, now a lot of you know that I work retail lumberyard, I do retail sales for a living. Like, I am a counter jockey. That's what I do, is ring up retail customers. And I have seen the retail customer count drop off significantly over the last couple of months. At the same time, I'm reading articles about how this demand is off the charts. Like, there's more demand now than there has been pretty much throughout the last year or whatever. I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a second. I mean, when I work retail for a living and I can tell that there is definitely a slowdown in the amount of sales taking place, I simply just don't believe the news that I am reading. Now, when it comes to these containers, this has been a major issue for me. Every single time that I go to try and price something out, they're saying, man, the prices are going way up, the lead times are way out there, and the major problem with it is the cost of these shipping containers. This has gone up extremely high. I was listening to one guy tell me that he used to pay $5,000 to have a shipping container come from China. Now he pays like $25,000 to have it done. No wonder you would see such price increases when you have a shipping cost as high as that. Now, I am not one to try and argue about whether or not we are seeing price increases. It is definitely happening. It is throughout the board on a lot of stuff. And I'm not trying to argue that point. A lot of people come back to me and say that, I'm just a shill for the Federal Reserve and how I'm just, just repeating the stuff that they were saying. I'm not into that, guys. I just follow what the Federal Reserve speeches say. I look out there into the retail land that I am working and I try and, grasp the world as the best that I can as far as the knowledge that I can get from it. When you see certain things happening, it makes you question what's up. That's why I question the felt paper, right? A very common building paper, hasn't changed price one little bit. The other day, just, working my retail stuff, 8-inch stove damper. You guys know what that is? Like a wood stove. Inside the pipe, there's a little flap that you can adjust to, concentrate the heat into the pipe. So it's called a damper. Those things, they're like $12.50. Well, the other day, I get a new shipment in and they're down at $11.49. They'd actually drop price. So it's not everything going up. That tells me it's not destruction of the dollar. It is pure supply chain breakdown. Now, I have read a lot of Federal Reserve speeches prior to the COVID outbreak taking place. And everything that they were concerned about was deflation. They were worried about a demographics issue. They know the baby boomers are retiring. They are not going to be be participating in the workforce. There is going to be an issue with labor as more people are retiring than are coming into the labor force. And these people who are retiring, they're not big spenders. These are people who are generally saving. Now, the spenders, those are the people like 35 to 45. And right now, they're not really they're not in the same position as like the baby boomers were, where going and having an average job would give you the ability to buy a house and raise a family and stuff like that. That doesn't exist nowadays. So the idea that an average person can have an average job and raise a family like the traditional American dream was is simply just not the case any longer. And it's just not going to happen. So I don't question why we have this labor shortage. When you have more people retiring than are joining in, then yeah, you're going to have an issue with that. And I don't really question why the prices are so up because of the supply chain constraints that are taking place. Like I said, the Federal Reserve knew that they were going to have an issue coming into the future. And they knew that the threat was going to have to be credible enough for the people to believe it. And that's what's happening right now. Everybody is convinced that the Federal Reserve's actions is causing the inflation to take place. Everybody's convinced of that. And I'm not. I look out there and I see a bunch of people who are completely high as a kite. That's the way I see it. The stimulus programs, the easy access to credit, the low interest rates, that gets people drunk, stoned, and stupid. It's what it does. And they feel that there is never going to be a change to this environment, that these easy access to money or the forever low interest rates, that this is going to be taking place for eternity. Like, there will be no reversal to this. And when you hear the Federal Reserve talking about inflation and how it's lasting longer than what they were anticipating, well, that's them gearing up to raise interest rates. They're trying to get you prepared for this. They knew it was going to come. They know that the inflation is going to go to a point where people are going to be like, it's out of control. You're losing control. They're going to say that to the Fed, and the Fed will be like, okay, well, we have no other choice but to raise interest rates. Now, in my opinion, the only reason why they would truly want to raise interest rates is so they have some sort of ammo. So they have some sort of firepower next time we have a downturn in the economy, that they can lower interest rates if they have them up, right? But if they're already low and you don't raise them, the next time we go into a downturn, it's going to be very painful and very difficult for the Federal Reserve to navigate through that, because dropping of interest rates is no longer an effective tool. That would rely on strictly government policy, like lots and lots and lots of government spending. But if the Federal Reserve could raise those interest rates, if they could get the Fed funds rates up, if they could get, all the interest rates that everybody pays on their house loans and car loans and credit cards, if they can raise those interest rates up for a significant amount of time to a fairly decent level, the next time there's a downturn, they'll be able to drop the interest rates again. If that doesn't happen, then the pain that people will feel is going to be intense. It's going to be more pain than anybody could ever imagine. Talk about like losing all your retirement, having no way to be able to make your payments, having no access to credit, so that, if you're wanting to start a business or anything, the availability of that money is going to be pretty much non-existent. And the pain that people feel will be unreal. They will blame the government for everything. Everything that's wrong with their life, they will blame the government for it. And they will demand them do something about it. And that is where I feel the central bank digital currency will kick in. All this is a game pushing the people to get into a position in which they are going to feel the pain. I don't know exactly where you need to be. If you feel comfortable holding silver or cryptos or cash or stocks, that's the position that you are in. I personally like having stuff that's outside of the banking system. I hold an insurance policy in silver. I also hold cryptocurrencies. I no longer have any cash. The little cash that I have is what you guys have sent me on my PayPal. That's all the cash that I have. I'm pretty much out of it. Now, I'm trying to build up my savings again, and it's going to take some time in order to get that emergency fund. But that's the position that I'm in now. There was a time when I held a lot of cash and had no debts. That's not the case for me any longer. Am I nervous about the future? You bet I am. I mean, I'm nervous for what my kids are going to have to grow up with. This stuff is not a game. And a lot of people seem to think it is. I don't look at it as a game. I look out there, I see what the mainstream media is trying to push as far as the narrative goes, and I look for evidence against it. That has been my channel the entire time. I know a lot of you guys don't like that. I know a lot of you guys say that I'm just a shill for the Fed, whatever that, is supposed to mean. I don't feel that I am. I feel the Federal Reserve should come to an end. I think that we should have competing currencies. I think crypto and gold and silver and all that stuff should be traded freely amongst the people as if it was just an everyday common item. That's the way I feel about it. But I'm not one who is going to look at every single thing that the Federal Reserve says or does as some sort of evil intent. I mean, if that's the case, you will never understand what it is that they're trying to do. And if you can't understand what it is they're trying to do, then you will never understand what it is that is going to come to the future. I mean, you have to think like the Fed. If you don't, then you're going to miss it. I don't like what they're doing, but I have to understand what it is that's happening. I mean, that's my game. That's the way I'm trying to play this. A lot of people can just, dismiss it. That's what they do. They say, man, I'm going to block out anything that has to do with cryptos. I'm going to block out anything that ever has to do with gold because you guys are, are idiots or whatever you want to say about it. I only put my money towards, interest-bearing accounts or something like that. If that works for you, man, that's what's working for you. Not everybody does the same thing. Not everybody is in the same position. This is going to be a very tricky road to navigate, especially once the supply chains start freeing up. You know, I got a great article. I'm going to leave another article down in the description for you guys to an article talking about the trucking issue out of California, as far as like needing updated trucks in order to haul these containers from the from the ports to the border. And I think to myself, if that's the case, see, this is remember we were talking just the other day about government restrictions and how if they were to step out of the way and just let free market entrepreneurs take over, that all this stuff would just alleviate, it would just all go away. Well, they're not doing that. They put these rules into place to try and create this situation so that we would not be falling into a deflationary spiral. That is something I truly believe is taking place. I think it was done on purpose. A lot of people will go in and look at the government restrictions that were done, and a lot of people say, man, this is completely ridiculous. I mean, I look at some of the actions that people have taken when the whole pandemic broke out. I mean, there was people calling cops because there was other people not wearing masks and stuff. Now, nobody cares. Like, literally nobody cares anymore. I haven't heard a single person even talk about COVID in a month. It's just like they've given up on it. I guess I should probably leave it at that. This is getting into a kind of a long video and I ranted enough. All right. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.